Is religion a force for good in the world or a toxin? Cathar Love 131. Is religion a force for good in the world? Yes, definitely. Is it also a toxin, a poison in this world of ours? Yes, definitely. There are those who simply just don't like religion. And yet, we all know from our own personal experiences just how religion, through brainwashing people from whatever faith they've happened to be born into, and they're usually stuck with that faith and they'll fight and even die for that faith, even though it was an accident of birth. And we know how hard and difficult it is sometimes to talk to these people, or just a reasonable debate, especially those who are of the fundamentalist kind, be they Judaic, Islamic or Christian or possibly other fundamentalists. But the plain fact is that religion historically was born out of people questioning why we're here, what we're doing here, what's going on in the world, why does this happen, why does seemingly terrible things happen to seemingly nice people, even nice people. I've had terrible things happen to me and I'm a pretty nice guy, well, at times. Actually, a friend of mine, I remember her saying to me once, she said, I'm a good person. And she said, and yet why do these things happen to me? Why am I ill? Well, one doesn't necessarily follow the other. You know, someone said life isn't fair. I think it's overall, lifetime to lifetime, looking at the big picture. It's not just fair, it's beautiful. But if we look at it in the context of one lifetime and our own personal toothache at that time, or complaint, or whatever it happens to be, which is driving us nuts, then sometimes we look at it in that narrow context, then it seems very, very unfair indeed. But going back to religion, really, religion is the birth of art. If we look back at prehistoric cave paintings, which go back to 30, 40,000 years below in the limestone caves in the south of France, most people agree that they basically have religious significance. If we go to the cave paintings, or the paintings in Australia, the Australian Aborigine, which go back even further, 50,000 years, and they have this, they're also religious, a questioning importance, because a lot of us really don't know, but the fact that you often see these hands that are blown onto the cave, onto the wall, and so they're all there for a reason, and it's certainly for a spiritual reason, if not necessarily religious. The birth of science really comes from religion. So it would be a very unthinking person who wouldn't thank the various religions of the world for the art, the science, music, how much of our music and poetry is originally with a religious, spiritual motive. So much of the world today and what we have as religions, and the religions of today, but especially our science, art, literature has its birth in the questioning of people about what constitutes life, who are we, where are we going, and in that they also turned into become religions with a certain amount of revelation from various people along the way, a few prophets here and there, adding their input. But a lot of the things that people did question in those days, why does this volcano erupt? Why do we have earthquakes? Are they punishments from the gods or God? And today, so many of those questions that the original thinkers asked, and they needed religion to give answers, or plausible enough answers that they could live with it at the time. Science today can answer most of those questions. Those original cave paintings and art have turned into things of magnificence, be it religious art or secular art. Music, from the Gregorian chants and the Christian chants, look at them. I mean, the music that we have today, from the classical music, modern, so many things that are enchanting have arisen and have their birth in religion. This is the good side of religion. But unfortunately, religion, there's an inherent quality within religions that want to have us standing still, keeping us, this is the book, this is what the book says, these are the laws, these are the rituals, this is what we need to do and keep doing. Otherwise, we'll offend God, we'll sin, the wrath of God will descend upon us. And so, today, religion in many cases is trying to hold us back. So many of the things, for instance, in England, Parliament wanted to pass laws to stop public hanging. Not hanging, but hangings in public. And it was the Anglican Church that possibly 80, 90 or 100 years stopped this from happening, because they, at that hanging, that was almost a religious service, because the priest was there, or the minister was there, and the person, he could give them the last rites, and that prisoner could repent before he went to the scaffold. And so in many ways it was really a religious send-off, a religious service. So they prevented that. Religions haven't stopped the slave trade. It's both the Quran and the Bible. The Bible says, obey your masters, to the slaves. And so there are many things. Childbirth. When they wanted to use chloroform, introduce chloroform for mothers giving birth, it was the religion that says no, it's natural for women to have pain in childbirth. Mind you, these are men saying this. There's no female ministers. I think they might have disagreed if they had children, but they were saying no. This is the way it's supposed to be. A child is supposed to be born in pain. So they were hell-bent on stopping using chloroform to assist with the anaesthetic and as an analgesic for mothers. It's only not that long ago that we had cardinals in South America, Philippines, and in Africa, Catholic ones, saying Here's the World Health Organization saying, look, the only way you can stop AIDS from infecting one another is through using condoms. And also, but the church says, no, there's no way you can prevent the sperm meeting the seed. You cannot use condoms, and they had this thing against condoms. So here's the World Health trying to help people and stop AIDS, and here's the Catholic Church with their cardinals, certainly 3 that I know of, one in South America, one the Cardinal Sin in the Philippines, and in there. So they are trying to impede people using condoms. Even today, it's virtually impossible for these young kids, young ladies, young kids to get contraceptives in the Philippines. And yet, it just goes against all that is humane to most reasonable people. But the plain fact is, here is the church retrograde. So in that respect, religions, in many ways, are toxic, retardant, don't want us to think. So Catharism, it's, I like Catharism, of course. I think it's a beautiful way to go. It's a beautiful system. It allows you to sing and dance and have sex and wine and enjoy yourself, live life, celebrate life. And the thing about, it's not just Catharism. I mean, the Cathars are very similar to other groups, similar and dissimilar. For instance, Catharism doesn't believe in sin, like the Buddhists. Buddhists don't believe in God. Well, the Cathars don't believe in the Bible, the God of the Bible. The Cathars believe in more the Socrates, the Platonic idea of a source, an origin, an unknown, that a loving creator who's loving and not wrathful and vengeful. The Cathars are similar to Islam in the fact that Cathars don't have this idea of original sin. And because everyone in the Christians is born with original sin, according to St. Augustine, and with that, it was Christ who came and he died on the cross to absolve us from original sin so that we can gain salvation. So Islam doesn't have original sin. In fact, Christianity is the only one with original sin that I'm aware of. Cathars, or the Cathar Perfecti, they used to wander about the countryside, a bit like the Taoists in China of old, and the Taoists would get up and they'd wander here and there and talk to people and discuss Taoism. The Sufis did that as well. Sufis are the mystical side of Islam, very interesting group, and have their wonderful poets, and they are Islam is in the Quran. It's probably a book of warnings in many ways, because it says, we're telling you, don't do this, because if you do that, this will happen to you, and don't do that, because if that happens, this will do that to you. And so there's these different warnings. And whereas Islam is saying, Sufism is saying, it's like Cathars, it's knowledge of the heart. This is why they're called the Gnostic side of Islam, because they're concerned, like the Cathars, they're concerned with having the divine, whatever the divine is to you. For the Sufis, they're looking for God. With the Cathars, it's the divine. It might be your personal guide. It could be your connection with the source, with the Cathar creator. But you're carrying that knowledge within. You're carrying it within your heart. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go to a church to find it. You don't have to go anywhere. It's there every day, every hour of your life. It's everywhere and at any time. So, in that respect, the Sufis, so the Sufis, they, because they talk about the books, the Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are the religions of the book. Now, Sufis are a bit naughty because they have a saying that says, if you have a donkey carrying books, it's still a donkey. So they were interested in now, and the Sufis, again, they wanted this, if you like, a love affair of the heart with their beloved, which in their case is God, Allah. And this is not dissimilar to Catharism. Catharism wants to celebrate life. We're here and sing and dance and enjoy yourself when you can, as much as you can, without harming anybody else. And in fact, if you are happy and enjoying yourself, you're not going to harm other people. But if you're miserable and down and life's a burden and the sky's about to fall in, you're just making the people around you miserable. A friend of mine, a dear friend, she had this person she used to see once a month or so, and this person was just so negative. And when she'd leave her and she'd come back, and I said, what do you see it for? I said, you're drained. And she said, yeah, it just drains me of everything. She said, I call him my psychic vampire, because when I go there, and this next is negative and that is negative, and it just sucks all the positive energy, all the positive chi from you. So beware of psychic vampires. So if you're happy, and look, if you've got a toothache, it's hard to be happy, and these things do happen to us. We can have terrible pain at times. But that's fine, and we do what we can to alleviate their pain, get rid of their pain, and get back to good health if we can. But you're more likely to have good health if you're a happy person. You're not carrying, they say we're 70-80% water, and water carries memory. So we're far better being that 80% water, but carrying happy water around within us than unhappy and negative water, anger and jealousy and rage and whatever. The world, we know, has always been a terrible place, but the world has also been a beautiful place. And it's going back to religion again. A lot of this beauty that we have around us, it was religion that first drew our attention to it. So the art and the sciences, attitude towards each other, morality, so many of these things, although there's a few varieties, but they had their birth within religion. So we owe a lot to religion. But we also need to be real and understand when religion has the ability to poison minds. I was reading this Irish novel, and I forget which one, but I remember the author, and he went to a Catholic school, and he was taught by the brothers. I don't know which ones they were, which set of brothers, Christian brothers, but I don't know what they were. But anyhow, he said, we were taught there, you were taught more to hate than to love. And we know from Angela's Ashes and a lot of those books that we hear from young Irish kids, what happened to them and how religion treated them. So there is a beautiful bright side to religion, but there's also a dark side to it as well. To me, I feel that while people have this idea that we only have one life, this is it, and at the end of it, there's time for judgment, or even the fact you just have one life. I find that a little sad. I don't like to be sad, but if it's going to be sad, I find that sad. I know, because I know some of my own past lives, and also I've had correspondence with different people who've had memory, past lives, experiences, past life experiences, and they said, John, you'll understand, and they've written to me, and which I really appreciate, by the way, and in confidence. And it's happening all over the world. It doesn't matter what country it is, but there are people having. It happens at each situation seems to be unique, but a lot of these people, once they've had that, they've taken it further, and they've often had, under hypnosis, they've had past life regression, and that's taken them to that particular area they want to explore, and this is happening all over the world. So it's just a fact of life. But there are other people who just, it's not even within their scope of awareness. So it's just when that's happened to you, and you know your past lives, and you know who you were in your past lives, and you know what happened to you in your past lives. Sometimes it's, with some of us, we've been Cathars, but that's only one of the many of our past lives. But suddenly, when that happens, and you've had that, and you know that, and you know that you're going to disappear, I'll be probably going before a few of you, but you're looking forward to a break in the world of spirit, and then it's on to another past life. And there's so many things that happen. People, there's geniuses in 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and who can play their piano, who are great artists and so forth. But they say with reincarnation that nothing is entirely lost. And the one thing that isn't lost is love. And over, when you read these stories about reincarnation, is that people's loved ones keep returning. The loves that they had in previous lives, not necessarily in every life, but they still return. And it can be role reversal, mother and daughter, daughter and now mother. It can be anything. But those people that love that you felt, love doesn't die. You know, you can't go wrong with love. And getting back to Sufism again, Sufis regard they're a branch of the Sunni branch of Islam, but not many in Islam understand them, and a lot of them regard them as heretics. So we're well in line with the Cathar heretics, and they were persecuted just as the Cathars were persecuted for their heresy. But they describe their religion or their beliefs as a dance of love. They are so caught up in the love of the divine, they simply want to sing and dance. Actually, you can look up, there's the whirling dervishes, and there's different groups in different places, but this is a form of getting into an ecstatic form of dance, ecstasy. And it's really an interesting area. There's and they divide themselves into 2 different groups. There's the drunken Sufis and there's the sober Sufis, and that's about the fact, like Rumi, who is one of their great poets, and his poetry is just, well, I call it divine. It's simply divine. But he's on the area of the drunken Sufis. They're literally drunk on love of the divine. So this is very much what the medieval Cathars of old. They were drunk on the divine, and when they went to be burnt, and had to be burnt in their groups. And this has been recounted, and even I've had some correspondence where people have gone back, and the thing was, something that they had in common was, when the Cathars went into the flames, they went in singing. They didn't go in hung-drawn and screaming and crying. They went in singing, and when they did die, they didn't scream. Now this is from the records of the Catholic chroniclers of the time. So I was reading different times. I read about the Cathar, the Sufi poets, and there's so many similarities. So religion, power for good, or a toxin or a poison, it's both. But you can't. Religion is a fascinating subject. Nothing to do with what you believe or don't believe, just as a subject to look at, to read about, to understand, to see where this group or that group is coming from. And it's an area of discussion that a lot of people shy away from, and I including me, because I find that sometimes I get into discussion that people have got their own very, very strong ideas, and they're not up for discussion. So probably this is a good thing about YouTube, that various people who have opinions about various things or knowledge, that they can give that knowledge out unimpeded. Sure, you're going to get your comments at the end, but that's fine. So I think we all need to have a deep respect for religion in general, and for what, if we didn't have religion, we wouldn't have the world as we know it today, with the amazing science that we have that can explain so much. Still a lot they can't explain. The music, the art, the architecture, the cathedrals. Cathars didn't have them, but still, there's no doubt about it, they're great works of art. And all this is through religion, and we owe religion a lot, but at the same time, we also need to understand that where religion, or various religions, are impeding our thinking, or our thinking for ourselves, impeding, preventing gender equality. So there's these things that religions are still fighting for, but I notice that there's female rabbis now, there's female priests and ministers who are just getting up and doing it, female, and they're just doing their own thing. They've not decided not to wait. They're just taking matters into their own hands. So there's movement at the station. There's things happening there too. So yes, religion can be a force for good, but also religion can be a force that is very difficult and wants to keep us restrained. Bye for now. Talk soon.